The Israeli newspaper Ma'ariv reported that Israeli military has begun winding down its war in Lebanon, describing the campaign as ending in failure and with much better. Yeah, it literally ended before it even began, while northern residents were left to their own devices. According to analyses by Ma'ariv, military correspondent Avi Ashkenazi, Israeli occupation forces have already started withdrawing units, including the 162nd Division, with additional withdrawals expected in the coming days as the army transitions out of active operations. These dinky little grill tops that they put on the top of these Merkava tanks, clearly, as you can see here, don't do a damn thing to protect them. And there's just video after video after video after video of these strikes taking place. I watched a Jimmy Dore clip the other day, and he was reacting to this video of some sort of like a Mossad guy, maybe former Mossad chief, and he went out on the Israeli press and he was, I'm not going to react to the whole thing. You can go watch it on Jimmy's show, but he was saying, you know, we failed in Iran, complete failure, tactical failure, strategic failure, conventional failure. He was just going off about how much they got destroyed in Iran, and very critical of the whatever sort of strategy. I think there's none, but whatever sort of strategy is being pursued. And also, what is the strategy? It's not for us to really make out. I mean, I don't think there is a strategy, but I should also note that Iran allegedly, well, they did, in fact, strike at multiple vessels, including U.S. warships that got too close to the Strait of Hormuz today, trying to illegally cross it. But also, there was the strike on the UAE port of Fujairah, on the petrochemical facility there. And then about 3 hours after that, we had Netanyahu's team put out a statement saying, well, due to the security incident in the Gulf, we will no longer be able to proceed with the prior scheduled court hearings for Netanyahu's corruption trial tomorrow. So what is the goal? I don't know, but I can't really say if there's a grand strategy here. It looks like minute by minute, just huckster slop trying to piece together something, but it's not working. Anyways, what is really not working is the Israeli plan in the south of Lebanon. Israel has tried and has successfully invaded the south of Lebanon on several occasions. Okay, and I don't mean to go through the history and the years-long battles and all the things that ensued and the provoking of civil strife in the country. But here's what I'll say. Each and every time Israel invades and tries to occupy the south of Lebanon, this is why I'm not like freaking out about what's going on right now in the south of Lebanon. Each and every time they try to do it, what happens? They get there. They say, oh, we're gonna set up camp here in the south of Lebanon. And then IEDs start to go off and rockets start to fall. And it's not like this is happening like all at once, 10,000, rockets fall. No. Very measured, very timely, very sporadic, chaotic, and it's just unlivable. And it's unlivable because they're trying to live in land and soil that does not belong to them. And they are desecrating that soil. They are desecrating the Christian and Islamic holy sites that are on that soil and have been on that soil since Christ. That's what they're doing there. So this is what happens every time. And then after a certain amount of years, the Israelis are like, wow, this is unlivable, and it's time for us to go back home because we can't do anything about this situation. But the crazy thing now is that now there's drones. They're very, very, very cheap, very easy to make. They're very capable of hitting all sorts of targets. And these are not just cheap. These are not just easy to make and whatnot. They're not just folks, okay, there's a lot of things that are cheap in this world that are used in war, right? There's a lot. But what is always the problem? The problem is getting it from the manufacturer to the south of Lebanon in the case of the Lebanese resistance. That's always been the problem. Well, in some cases, things are actually kind of good, even insofar as this matter, because after the fall of Assad, we've seen just chaos erupt in Syria. It is a fallen state. And for a period of time, we don't know how long, but for a period of time, it is actually now in some ways easier to get, from what I've heard, weapons into the south of Lebanon and military supplies into the south of Lebanon through Syria than it even was under Assad. Because under Assad, though obviously there's sympathies there and there's collaboration, there's checkpoints and people getting paid and a checkpoint and another checkpoint and another, and each one they get paid and they got to pay a lot because they know people have money, right? Now it's just a free fall state. It's a state in free fall. It's collapse, right? So it's just like everything is flowing through and it's much easier. But drones, they don't even have to worry about that. You realize you can 3D print drones? You realize you can make hundreds of drones in a single home? You realize how simple it is to make drones? It is the most simple yet effective thing that anyone could ever use in a battlefield. And not only are they using it, they are showing, the Lebanese resistance, Hezbollah, is showing very, very, very high-level capabilities in using these drones. I would have to imagine, the drones, I mean, to be that talented, the things they're doing, they're like Tokyo drifting with the drones already. We didn't see that for at least like a year or two into the Russia-Ukraine war. How people get so good at flying these drones quickly, you might be wondering, seeing all these Lebanese videos, and it's just like starting like that. There are drone simulators online, drone simulators for, in many cases, men and women that enter into these drone racing competitions and they want to perfect their skills. So all you need is the handset, the controller, and then they have like a fully adapted simulator with all the physics for various types of drones. And you can literally become a drone flying expert without ever having, touched a single drone, just using the controllers. So in the south of Lebanon right now, they are using these FPV fiber optic drones, which means they cannot be stopped through any sort of like electromagnetic warfare. They cannot be intercepted via electromagnetic warfare. They're fiber optic. So if you don't know, there's literally these giant spools of what looks like fishing line, and the giant spools are all spun up. They're about that thick on each side, and it goes in a circle, and the drone takes off, and the spool of fishing line, what looks like fishing line, it goes off with it, and it's a fiber optic connection. So they can't be intercepted electronically. And they fly, and they have the FPV, the video, on their whatever device they're using to control it, and they hit their targets. So let me remind you one more time. Fishing line, a spool of fiber optic cable, which can be reused if it's not fully used, and a drone that can be produced effectively in a home with a 3D printer. And they're taking out multi-million-dollar drones. They're taking out Humvees, IDF Humvees worth $200,000, $300,000. They're taking out these infantry vehicles that are transporting IDF troops into the south of Lebanon from the north of Israel. They are hitting anything that moves. They're hitting gather. This is another thing. In the Russia-Ukraine war now, you don't see gatherings of more than 2 or 3 troops at any given moment. The Israelis have not figured this out yet. The Israelis have not figured this out. They still have these giant camps with dozens of soldiers, and all they have to do is fly one drone and hit the camp, and boom, there you go. You've got several, if not dozens, of injuries or worse, and that's what we're seeing play out. And it's why now Israel is being forced to evacuate some of their brigades from the south of Lebanon back into Israel. We're just a few weeks into what was supposed to be the new occupation of the south of Lebanon. Previously they occupied for a few years before they suffered too many casualties and they get kicked out. We are a few weeks in, and as a result of drone warfare and the inability of Israel to adapt to this, there's not much adapting they could do, but they are even seemingly too incompetent to adapt to even the most basic principles of trying to defend yourself from drone warfare. And they don't put any mesh over their tanks, over their infantry fighting vehicles. They don't put the mesh, the drone protection. They go in large groups, and they are already being forced to remove brigades, entire brigades from the south of Lebanon. Let's take a look here. So Maariv, Israeli media, Maariv says Israel's Lebanon war ended in failure. Okay? Several analyses in Maariv describe Israel's Lebanon campaign as ending in failure and bitterness. Israeli army begins withdrawing divisions and brigades from the south of Lebanon. Hezbollah maintains sustained attacks, including drone operations against Israeli forces. Israeli officials admit gaps in preparedness, particularly against low-altitude drone threats. Yeah, you don't say. The Israeli newspaper Maariv reported that Israeli military has begun winding down its war in Lebanon, describing the campaign as ending in failure and with much bitter. Yeah, it literally ended before it even began, while northern residents were left to their own devices. According to analyses by Maariv, military correspondent Avi Ashkenazi, Israeli occupation forces have already started withdrawing units, including the 162nd Division, with additional withdrawals expected in the coming days as the army transitions out of active operations. The report noted that the military entered the Lebanon front while simultaneously engaged in confrontation with Iran, blah, 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 blah. So Maariv highlighted, yes, this is the main point here, what it described as a major operational failure in addressing Hezbollah's use of drones. The report noted that such drones, often adapted from civilian technology, operate at a low altitude with minimal detection, making them difficult to intercept with conventional radar systems. Israeli military admits that the scale of the threat was understood too late, with no adequate countermeasures in place during the early stages of the war. So I want to go through this with you. This is really incredible. I made an Instagram reel, TikTok about this. It went pretty viral. People were shocked about this. This will show you exactly how much damage the Lebanese resistance was doing to Israel and why they're now having to withdraw entire divisions and brigades from the south of Lebanon just weeks into this attempted occupation, moving into and up to the south of Litani River. Okay. So look, this is from April 29th to today, May 4th. April 29th to May 4th. What is that, 6 days or so? Look at how much damage. These are almost all FPV drone attacks carried out by Hezbollah against the IDF occupiers in the south of Lebanon. And for the first time, FPV drone attacks even in the north of Israel that were carried out, okay? So look, just within a few days, targeting 2 Israeli Merkava tanks with FPV drones in the town of Kantara. How much are those millions of dollars? With what, a $300, $500 drone max, maybe? Targeting an Israeli infantry force in the town of Kantara. This is on the 29th. Carried out 2 additional operations, bringing the total today to 4. Targeted gathering of Israeli soldiers at Al-Baida with FPV drones, and targeting 2 more Merkava tanks in Kantara with FPV drones. Another $1 million tank, another multi-million-dollar tank. Number 5 on April 29th, targeting an Israeli Merkava tank in the town of Bet Leif with an FPV drone. That's how easy it is. They send all these troops, all these multi-million-dollar tanks, all these infantry fighting vehicles, all these armored personnel carriers, and boom, one by one, they're going up in smoke. Now, what about on the 30th? Hezbollah carried out 2 operations at the start of the day. So that was not a drone. They used targeted an IDF 155 millimeter artillery emplacement near the town. Oh no, that was. So they hit artillery with an FPV drone. They shot down a Hermes drone. This right here, this was an Israeli vehicle transporting in the settlement of Shomera, and they hit it with an FPV drone. That was the first time Hezbollah used an FPV drone to strike a target inside of Israel. Also, this is all on the 30th. They hit 2 Israeli Merkava tanks in Bint Jebel. That's the town that Israel has fully occupied now in the south of Lebanon. Very historic city. They also hit 2 Merkava tanks in Kantara. They hit FPV drones on some gatherings of Israeli soldiers in Belat. They hit a group of Israeli soldiers and artillery pieces, ammunition carrying vehicles with FPV drones. They hit Shama, southern Lebanon, a group of Israeli soldiers there. Israeli Humvee in the town of Al-Baida. Those are $300,000 each. They hit a group of Israeli soldiers in these cities, Mais al-Jabal and Al-Taiba and Kantara. Each they hit a group of Israeli soldiers. On May 1st, same thing. Hit a group of Israeli soldiers, FPV drone. Bin Jabal, they hit a gathering of Israeli soldiers with mortar shells and artillery. They hit a group of Israeli soldiers in Hula with mortar shells. E-drone strike on Israeli military vehicle in Al-Baida. Humvee hit in Al-Taiba. Merkava tank hit. Merkava tank hit. These are all the past few days. Soldiers and vehicles hit in Bin Jabal. Adshit, vehicles and Israeli soldiers hit. They released footage downing an Israeli Hermes drone. Those drones are millions of dollars, as I understand as well. Hezbollah's usage of FPV drones again hitting Israeli tanks in southern Lebanon. This is also, I believe, on the 1st, hitting Al-Baida, Israeli troops in Al-Baida, hitting Israeli soldiers and vehicles in Kantara, Israeli soldiers gathering in Nakura, Israeli vehicles and soldiers in Hula. You guys understand, this is today. Targeting state-of-the-art surveillance camera on one of the IDF outposts in Al-Baida with an FPV drone. Targeting an Israeli Namer command vehicle in the town of Al-Baida with an FPV drone. Hitting IDF soldiers and vehicles in Kantara with a rocket barrage. Targeting the newly established Belat site and the IDF in southern Lebanon with artillery mortar shells, targeting a command site of the IDF in Al-Baida with a wave of rockets. And lastly, targeting a gathering of Israeli soldiers and vehicles in Al-Baida with artillery and mortar shells. They told us for months, years, that Hezbollah, after Nasrallah's martyrdom, Hezbollah was dead. Hezbollah was gone and over. Hezbollah is a thing of the past. Read about it in our history books. We defeated them. It's over. It was over with the martyrdom of Nasrallah and Safieddin. But no, the sons of Nasrallah, the sons of Safieddin, they're here. They're fighting stronger than ever. The Israelis are fighting ghosts. They don't know where to look next. They're getting targeted. Every single day, multiple times a day, multi-million-dollar targets being hit. It's one thing if a drone lands into a patch of dirt near a IDF military outpost. It's another thing when you have multi-million-dollar tanks getting hit every few hours. They can't do a damn thing about it. And we have video after video after video of these strikes taking place here. By the way, that's the resistance music. They make their own music. This is in Bin Jabal, hitting a Israeli Army Namera armored personnel carrier. Here's another one. I'm not going to show you all of them. There's literally hundreds of these videos. What is that? Is that armored personnel carrier probably? Is that it? Looks like it. I don't see it. Humvee, $220,000 Humvee destroyed. It's really interesting also because some of these IDF military outposts that are getting hit, you see the drone going in. It's the FPV drone, so they're showing a video of it. And you see that they're selecting the most high value targets. Either the targets, if there's no high value targets, they're trying to do the one that's going to sustain the most damage, like a fuel tanker or something. But in many cases, they are selecting the most high value targets. And they have no protection. These little dinky cages. The Russians and the Ukrainians tried to do this at the start too. Doesn't work. Now you see the Russian tanks and the Ukrainian Russian tanks, and they have like a giant fortress over the tank, and they have all this mesh netting, and they have the metal, and they have like all these greenery, like the ghillie suit type protection. It's crazy what they look like. It looks like a giant Mad Max box storming through the Ukrainian countryside. These dinky little grill tops that they put on the top of these Merkava tanks, clearly, as you can see here, don't do a damn thing to protect them. And there's just video after video after video after video of these strikes taking place. And that, folks, is all the proof you'd need. Israel seriously underestimated the Lebanese resistance. They got it wrong, and now they're paying the price. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.